Yeah, a lot of good lessons there in terms of Sam, what he was teaching us, because like I mentioned on my talk, when you're going through the rough times, that's really when your mind starts ticking and your mind actually starts to think, I'm going to do this, make the decision and move forward. When you're in comfort, really, your mind gets stale and you don't actually put any action steps in because you've got no urgency with it. So, good talk. The next one on the list is young lad, close, smashing it. He's really grown as a person. He's inspired me more than he'll know. And here he is, Armz.
So, just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's shown up today, not only obviously for the team, but for yourselves as well. You've all come to do something that's going to better yourselves, mentally, physically, and of course a big thank you to Clint as well. Something I've always been quite blessed with is my memory. I've always had a very good one, and I remember specifically being a young lad as well. He was quite funny. He started coaching £9.99 a month, and I, quite literally, as I grew, watched him grow his coaching business from £9.99 a month to me asking, Clint, how much are you charging now? £200 a month to me asking. And just slowly growing, not only as a business owner, as a coach, but as a man. And now he's come and created something like this, which is crazy. So a big props to him, a role model in my life, a bit like an older brother. And the amount he's helped me to get to where I am now and where I'm going to be in the future is, yeah, you couldn't pay for it. So a big thanks to him. Can we all give Clint a round of applause, please? And to introduce myself, so I do go by Armz. It's a nickname that stuck from young. My actual name's Armz. And what that should say there is the standards you live by and adversity, I believe, and identity does shape us. Quite hard to see, but that's my rig today. Last time it was all about mindset. It was all about having the shift where I didn't really care about anyone for, energy levels, things like that. This time it's going to be a little bit about my story, exactly who I am. And although I might be young of age, I've been through a fair bit and it shaped me to who I'm going to be in the future and who I am today. So, yeah. Well, to introduce myself, there's my beautiful mum and dad. I'm first generation Iranian. So my mum and dad come to this country a couple of years before I was born to give my older brother and then me a better upbringing and a better life to the chances that they don't have in Iran. And as a kid, we didn't have the nicest Xbox, we didn't have the newest things, but we never had the need for nothing. I was actually brought up with good morals, always hot food, things that, to me, money couldn't pay for. You know, it weren't about one thing that stuck with me is my brother always wanted this game for, it was a console of some sort. And at the time, my dad was working 2 jobs. My mum was a hairdresser and she quite literally said to him, I've got to work a full day for you to have this CD, DVD, whatever it was. And that's one thing that stuck with me. It instantly taught me values because finances don't mean anything. And we grew up with culture, we grew up with food. And my mum and dad are quite old. So I think they were both in the 40s when they had me. So I was raised by, well, what you could say, older generation parents, and that raised me with good morals, manners, and yeah, I had the essentials. Never had the need for nothing, up to the age of about 13. So yeah, this was a massive turning point. Everyone who spoke so far spoke about turning points, and this was a big one for me specifically. The 6th of January 2018, up to this point, as mentioned, things have been okay. We had a warm house, need for nothing. And ironically, this night, my best mate who sat there, he was actually at my house. And this was, although such a bitter experience I'm going to speak about, kind of a resemblance from the world and God and whoever it is that you believe in, that everything happens for a reason. Because at that time, when it was just a mate, 2 lads having a sleepover at 12, 13, little did I know it was going to be in my life for the rest of my life. But yeah, unfortunately, what happened that day was my dad, as I mentioned, working 2 jobs. He was a paypan in the day and a takeaway driver at night. And the irony in this is, I kid you not, it was about 9 p.m. My dad didn't used to finish work till about 11. My mum started getting this really weird feeling, as you can imagine, 2 young lads staying together. I was like, Mum, calm down a little bit, you know, not to be embarrassed, things like that. She had a strange gut feeling. Mum got stressed. And my mum and dad, although they've not always been all lovey-dovey, they've always been good parents to me. So it was a bit weird how she had this gut feeling. Furthermore, she literally gets me in a car, we drive to where he was working. And the owner of the takeaway says, yeah, he's not come back, he done a drop-off 2 hours ago. And then things started to look a bit weird. We went to where the drop-off was meant to be for obviously the food, and unfortunately it was taped up like a murder scene. something like I'd never seen before. Up to that point, things were like, I said, okay, that was the turning point. From that point onwards, for the next 3 months, my dad's actually in a coma. As you can see there, he'd been assaulted. Something I don't really speak about often, something I don't feel like I need to, but it did shape me to who I'm going to be down the line. And he was more or less left for dead, just a man who, for 20 years, had come to this country, had done his work, taxpayer, owned a home, was doing okay, 2 children, and yeah, left for dead. That left my dad permanently disabled and completely changed the rest of my life, my family's life, and restructured the house a little bit. This taught me everything, to be honest. It was 3.5 months. Me, my mum, my brother, we used to go shake his hand, try to wake him up out of the coma. Eventually, he woke up, but with serious life-changing injuries. And that's still with us today, obviously. I watched mum struggle. I watched things change a little bit. And ultimately, I grew up a lot faster than I had to, and that I'm grateful for today. And it has a daily effect on us. We've now lived to learn to live with someone who's disabled. We had to understand things a little bit more and ultimately be a little bit grateful for the little things in life. And next year, my mum ended up getting ill. My mum also got cancer the year after that. So things were a little bit tough. And ultimately, things were a bit crazy. Going from, again, a normal home, the age 12, then everything just went a massive shift. It was crazy. In the long run, everything happens for a reason. We already know this, but even the toughest things shape us to who we are today. From that point onwards, I felt the need for something. If I wanted the nice jackets my mates had in school, I couldn't go and ask mum and dad for it. That weren't even a possibility. So little things like, I was the best sweet seller in school. Anyone who went to school can vouch for me. I was a right hustler. The best day, I kid you not, I went in with 50p in my little pocket. I went home with £44.50. Not a bad wage for a 13-year-old. And that led to other things. That's my page that I've run since I was 15. Checked like I started when I was 14. That's reselling. I barely do it anymore, which we'll get into. And it made good money. It kept me off the streets. The irony was the reselling, which was nice garments, designer garments. They were quite expensive. Being a little bit of a naughty lad at this time as well, growing up as you do, I got into a couple of fights and whatnot, and ended up getting targeted a few times to get robbed, which eventually led 14-year-old me to step into the gym, which is ironic. But what I didn't know would a negative thing like being targeted and robbed and being a little bit worried and being not so good a kid myself would actually lead to me then finding my passion was crazy. And ultimately, all this became lessons, not losses, throughout the rest of my teenage years. As mentioned, I grew up a lot faster than other people. I felt a massive need for something. As soon as you start tasting money at a young age, all I wanted to do was just make more and more and more. My gym obsession got really big. I started loving it. As you can see, I've done a little bit of a bulk there, grew my hair as much as I did my physique. And yeah, I started making good money as a 15, 16-year-old. Things were good. Ultimately, when that quietened down, it was make money by any means. So went a little bit down a bad path. And as they say, if you drive fast, you crash even harder. Within just 6-7 months of thinking I was the next coming of El Chapo, was actually nicked, arrested. And that was, as we spoke about turning points, I believe the second big turning point in my life. And yeah, it definitely shaped me again into kind of my next actions moving forward. That's when I first felt adversity as a bit of an adult. Although 17, almost soon to be 18 at this point, I had a couple of responsibilities. Again, I grew up a bit faster than I wanted to. It opened my eyes. With the arrest, it was quite likely that I would have actually got set down because of the weight of the stuff that was on me, and the list goes on. That's not something to be proud of. That's to say that I was scared shitless. I was a 17-year-old who thought he knew it all, and then when I realised that I could be banged up, it was a different ball game. Then it actually made me realise, why would I even do that? I've come to this country, or my parents have come to this country to provide a better life for me. And being 17, when I got nicked, when my mum had to come to the station, the look on her face was devastating. To be fair, she attacked me because she was that disgraced. And that was ultimately what scared me, not the nick, not being nicked by police and things like that. It was more my mum and how I felt like I let her down massively. And I got back in education. This was when I finally developed what an actual hustler was. Not making profit off selling Gucci bags or whatever. It was actually going and doing what a real man does, which is going working every hours, going and getting your own. And that genuinely started with getting back in education, sorting my case, and going gym on my lunch break, going working in a takeaway, as you can see from that calzone. And one thing I remember at this point, like I said, I've always trained in the background and I was pretty gym crazy. I remember a couple used to come in every single day. And really nice people, but really bad health. They used to order massive orders. At this point, I was doing a cut. Didn't really have much of a clue, but I knew what to cut down. I was eating, I don't know, maybe a chicken salad behind the counter whilst I was serving them. And I just remember them said to each other, that's some discipline, that. And from that point onwards, I was like, what seems kind of normal to me, which is just going and getting after it, whether that's with trading, with money, with whatever, might actually be decent at something. But the hustle mindset remained. At this point, it was kind of just work, work, work. And at 18, I stepped out of my comfort zone. I did my first photo shoot, which was something that I could have never imagined doing. That was my first time ever seeing my abs. I was either skinny fat, or then when I bulked up, I was pretty much just fat. And that's when I had a bit of a mindset shift, when I realised it wasn't really being a cool kid anymore. It wasn't being a kid with all the flashy arms and the nice motor and stuff. It was actually more about not really giving a fuck what anyone thinks, because that's what life's about. That was, again, I'd say another turning point which wouldn't have happened if I didn't get nicked. And adversity remained as I grew up. So after a year of getting nicked, I literally worked. I completely changed, doing any bad habits. And my case got dropped, which is great. This was an eye-opener, because what that kind of taught me was, as soon as I realised I could have everything in terms of freedom took away from me, wow, I can actually go and travel the world. I'm now 18, I can work, I can go away. I don't really have bad habits. I've never been a smoker, never been a drinker. And I kind of felt lucky to be free. So as soon as I started getting to an age where I could even leave the country at age 18 and 19, I felt lucky to get away. So I went on 10 trips just in my first 2 years, made it cheap as chips. I then started to become good on money, was earning basic minimum wage, and I felt lucky to be free. Then I realised the power of social media. With myself, when I see someone doing well, I'm not a jealous person. I'm actually someone who gets inspired. I see someone with a Lamborghini, wow, nice car, I'd love to have one of them. I don't think, wow, flashy prick. Different types of mindset. And what it was, is I remember scrolling through, I was 18. At this point, the idea of travelling, the idea of living a better lifestyle, and obviously training has always been there for me. I remember seeing someone, and their job was actually to get paid to go around the world, go up and down water slides. Sounded like a great job. So that's when I thought, I had this mad idea in my head, right, I'm going to go to Thailand, I'm going to quit my job, I'm 19, who cares? You know, minority responsibilities, couple bits and bats, we'll get into that. And I did it. I booked a one-way flight to Thailand, I was 19, and I thought, this is where I'm going to start posting TikToks. That'll do me. Don't care what anyone thinks. And although this meant that what people that I maybe used to hang around with would have thought I was a bit of a sausage, a bit of an idiot, ultimately, my first video there, so my old account before I got banned, about 2 years ago, that screenshot was from, I literally picked up a camera, I put it in my car, and I said, I'm 19, I've just quit my job, I'm going to Thailand, come with me to see what I'm going to do. And instantly it blew up. First thing I got was, no way, this guy's 19. 19 years on train, 19 years out of jail. The best one was Rishi Sunak on steroids, and I'll tell you that. But that ultimately stemmed 2024. I went to Thailand, I got the videos, and it was such a crazy year for me, because it wasn't what you're going to think. It was actually a shit year. It wasn't, but it was so many up and downs that I couldn't explain it to, and it's the year that tested me like nothing else. From the get-go, we even fell at the first hurdle. We missed our flight from Switzerland to Thailand. That was another viral video, but that was ultimately half my budget down the drain when we got an emergency flight. And I come back, I had this idea, picked up a bit of momentum with the socials. I knew that I love training. I knew that I like this traveling thing, and I'm not bad at this speaking game either. I'm okay with the content. This is something that I could be good at. But I settled, I went back to a comfort zone. I got a job in a railway, and I just started working. My TikTok got banned. I went through a lot of ups and downs. My idea was to compete at 19, but then I picked up 2 major injuries within the space of a couple of weeks. And ultimately, 2024 was just so up and down. I kept on wondering why bad things were happening to me. This stupid victim mindset. And a lot of bad things did happen within the space of a couple of months. Like I said, 2 injuries. My car got crashed into whilst I was parked 3 times in 2024. And that isn't a coincidence, because they aren't a thing. It was more just constantly giving energy to these negative things. Why is this happening to me? Why me? Everyone else is so lucky. Again, just being a sausage with a victim mindset. And ultimately that led to more and more bad things happening. I felt like the world was just against me. And everyone else around me was just getting everything they wanted. And I was working 6 days or working 5 days, scraping 1,500 quid a month, getting back into bad habits to bring a bit of cash in. And ultimately, it was just a negative reality. One thing that kept me going was training. And there's a couple pictures of me and my travels, enjoying life. There's a picture of me smiling whilst I was on my shift, because every single time I ever got downspoken to at work, every single time something negative happened, every single time I got paid the shitty wage that I used to, I knew inside I'm out for meant more than this. And ultimately, that kept me going. I just didn't have a clue what yet. What adversity like that led me to kind of get to? I then started to develop this hunger in my belly. I remember this one specific time, it was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. It wasn't even long ago. It was best part of maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago. I come back from one of my trips and I was skint shitless. And I thought, isn't how it should be. I like doing the traveling and stuff. I work how many days a week and I'm scraping by. And I'm doing okay with the socials. The only good thing that was going for me, I got myself in really good nick after my injuries. And you can't really see there, but that was the top right me after my 2 injuries, which were both done at work whilst I was on the railway, which was tendonitis in my right elbow, and I pulled my lower back, which still haunts me to this day. But then after I come back, and I know it always relates to the gym, but in this case it really did, that little transformation there, which to you guys might just be a picture in a picture, to me it was, I could do whatever the fuck I want. I can develop massively if I put my mind to something. And a mindset that nothing can break you, it just makes you unstoppable. That's what I then developed at that point. As Rocky said, we've all heard the quote, it's never about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get it and keep moving forward. And every single time these things kept on happening, I kept on pulling myself out the shit, I told myself I'm meant for something more. Because if every single time something bad happened to me, or to every single one of you in this room, and we fell at it, and we said, why is this happening? We'd be nowhere, we'd never move forward. Factual experience, the ones who go for adversity get rewarded at the end. I'm going to bring an example of what I know best, which is social media. I kid you not, I've tried and tested this. I don't know if this is an actual thing with the algorithm, but I believe it. Every single time, maybe my views go quiet, I'll continue to post even more if anything, and the next week or so I'll have about 5 or 10 viral hits. We don't do coincidences, it's impossible. That's because I went through the shit, I didn't quit like most people did, and TikTok or social media or whatever it is in life was like, go on then mate, you can have it, because you rid through, where most people just, nah, that's me, done that. Adversity is there to shape us. It's there to create our identity. If we can't go through the littlest hurdles in life, and we all have our own stories, then what are we made for? One thing I then started to realise was, no one's going to stop and feel sorry for me. I've got older parents, I've got people that I want to make proud, I've got mum and dad that I want to go make happy with how much cash. No one's going to do it for me. And having these things that happened to me, they ultimately led to a couple of different things. I was able to quit my job and grow my business at 20 years old. I developed social media following and competing in bodybuilding by 20. Not too bad for a fat kid with foreign parents who was going down a bad path, working a dead-end job, or adversity ultimately rewarded me as I rid through it and never quit, not once. And on the bottom right, that's me most recent. That's quite literally me on the 13th of December last year. Right now, I'm actually going for a rotator cuff tear. I fell in really bad shape, too busy doing food reviews and whatnot, and 9 weeks of just reminding myself who the fuck I am simply has again just brought me back to life. And the irony is, during this point, something I'm not mentioning because I felt like I went over it last time, was obviously I grew my business. At that point there, on the bottom right picture where I'm looking like I shouldn't be anywhere near, I'm glad the light's covering it because I look terrible. I was coaching 50 plus people, get people in sick shape. You know, financially I was doing really well, smashing it for a 20-year-old. Luckily, I'd just been on a winter holiday where I could wear a big jacket because I hated the way I looked. And I just literally had to remind myself who the fuck I am. And that is so important that we do that time to time, because we can forget. And you can't see it here. I'm not a materialistic person. I know, I like my nicer bits and stuff in life. That picture, 18th of February 2024 in Bangkok airport. Skint shitless. The trip had went to shit. The only good thing I got out of it was memories. Looking back, I don't regret a thing of it. It was amazing. It was memories and obviously growing a bit of a social and biting the bullet, not caring what anyone thinks. But I was genuinely, for the first time in my life, I was actually down in money. I owed like the bank a grand. I owed a couple of people a bit of money. I knew as soon as I get back, I'm just going to go back into old habits to bring cash in and go work a dead-end job. But I seen this Rolex in the Rolex store in Bangkok airport. Bear in mind, it took me like 52 hours to get back home. So by this point, I'm not going to lie, I probably stunk of shit. I looked like a tramp, didn't have an haircut for a bit. I had my rucksack on and my backpack on, and I took a picture of a Rolex with not a Scooby-Doo of how I was going to get it, and not materialistic, but 2 years and 4 or 5 days later, I returned to Thailand in about 8 weeks, I think it is, with a complete different situation. And to be honest, I couldn't give a flying fuck about the watch, but it's more about how I've changed as a person in the last 2 years alone, and how anyone in this room can. All because I bit the bullet, I stopped giving a fuck what anyone thinks, and I simply just rid through any storm that come my way. And mine's a bit of a shorter one. I like to be more straight to the point. And I'm going to go through what all this kind of taught me, is that everything happens for a reason at the end of the day. Even the bad things that I was going through, you know, my dad getting ill, becoming disabled, my mum getting cancer, not long after that, that's super negative. That's dreadful. Who'd want to go through that? Best things that ever happened to me. Because I know, because of them events, I'm going to give them back what they could have never imagined. And with things that happen in our lives, it's our reaction that makes it negative or positive. Because I'll tell all yous now, happy things like that happened, because I know that the outcome of it was positive. As humans, we're obliged to do one thing, and is that what that says, Dave? Right, okay. As humans, we're obliged to do one thing. That's not be perfect, but be the best version that we can. Try. Show up every day. That's what matters. As long as we're doing that, not being perfect, not being amazing, not being some imaginary social media person, then we've won. We've got up every day. We've got at it. I try to be the best version of myself daily, because that's the most you can do. And every single person who comes to an event like this takes time out on a Sunday, where a lot of people are up to bad habits, rough as shit for the night before, or simply just waste men and waste women. Yous actually value yourselves, and yous have invested the most valuable currency to better yourselves, which is your time. That's what matters. I'm sure a lot of people in here don't struggle financially. I'm sure a lot of people who didn't come don't struggle financially, but you've actually invested your time, which is a great thing to do. So a big well done to everyone who's actually took time out of their Sunday to come here today as well. And for me personally, moving forward to get to where I want to be, I'll continue to try daily. I'm not going to be perfect. I'll still have bad habits. I'll still have up and downs. I'll still fuck up every other week. However, I'll try. So if I can have something of every single one of you today, it's just to make sure you do as well. And that's me.